I used to live in an awesome situation in South California until the housemate from hell moved in. Fortunately, she has left, but the bitterness remains on my tongue. It is a saga that can only be told in pieces, so please bear with me. Our house was owned by a guy named Matt. It had been in his family for generations and it was beautiful. It has 4 floors and a carriage house. On the first floor are the 2 formal rooms, Matt's bedroom, bath and his den, this huge kitchen, a powder room, a butler's pantry, and a wraparound porch and 2 quote-unquote open rooms that are for everyone's use. On the next few floors are the housemates' rooms and baths, as well as 2 extra rooms. One is called the game room, since it has a pool table, and the other is called the lodge, since it contains all of the mounted animals Matt's grandfather hunted. There are currently 5 housemates plus Matt. We all have our own rooms and the run of the house. Matt is very particular about who he rents rooms to, which is a good thing. Some of the requirements are professionals only, no students or kids working as waitresses while trying to make it big, no one under 25, no people with children, and no pets other than Matt's 2 dogs. Matt also insists that all current housemates agree upon the person we rent to, and for all this we only pay $500 a month, including utilities. In the house we currently have a lawyer, 2 engineers, a high school guidance counselor, a professional pet sitter, and a manager of a retail store. Matt is the counselor, and I am the manager. Anyway, all was fine until roommate number 6 left the house to get married. We were all sad to see her go and decided to wait a bit before replacing her. Since the house is paid for, all of the rent goes towards maintenance, taxes, and general upkeep, so there was no rush. After a few months went by, we started the search. We received over 500 inquiries and had 153 people fill out our quote-unquote online application that the lawyer set up. We tossed out the students and those who clearly did not meet our requirements, dropping the number of potentials down to about 50. We asked those 50 to send us their boss's phone number so we could verify their employment and contact information for their current landlord. Following that, the number of acceptables dropped down to 17. Still not in a hurry, we phoned all 17 and interviewed them, cutting the number to 5. We paid to run background checks. Finally, we met them in person, and then the housemates came to a consensus of our top 3 candidates. And we made our decision to allow Sarah to live with us. It was the biggest mistake ever. Sarah seemed to fit the bill. She was a programmer for a computer company, or so we were led to believe. She was 27 years old, she had a boyfriend but he lived in another part of the state, she was well spoken, seemed nice and quiet, she appeared to be the perfect fit for our house. Wrong. Everything about Sarah was a lie, even her name. When she had us run the background check, she gave us 2 names. Apparently she had legally changed it at some point. Okay, no problem. Matt did not pry as to why she changed her name, and the rest of us thought it was none of our business. Still, both names came up clean. But there were more lies. Many, many more. On the day she moved in, she arrived in cab with luggage. It didn't seem odd, but she still had baggage tags on the luggage. She explained she had flown back east to visit her parents between the move out of her old place and move in here. Okay, understandable. A few days later, her stuff arrived. She had hired a major moving company to haul it for her. That went fine. She said she was taking a few days of work to unpack. We thought nothing of this. Until the following week when she went to work, only to come home in tears saying she had been laid off. We felt for her and Matt told her not to worry since she had paid 3 months in advance. Everyone in the house offered to pass her resume around work, but she didn't seem very thankful. She decided that she was going to apply to various game and computer companies in the area. One of the engineers who lives with us works for one and offered to help her get her foot in the door. He asked for her resume to pass around. She flopped around saying it was on her computer and she hadn't unpacked it yet, but she would get it to him in the next few days. The next few days she started to show her oddness. She complained that there was meat in the fridge and that she was a vegetarian. Matt told her she could keep her food in the carriage house fridge if she was concerned about that, but that most people here ate meat and that she will have to get over it. She whined and mopped like a 2-year-old. Matt, being the one to make peace, cleaned out his college fridge that he kept in his private den for his wine and offered it to her. Sarah scoffed at the thought that her food would fit in such a fridge. but accepted it and put it in the butler's pantry. A week passed and she still didn't have a resume. Matt asked her if she needed help writing one. She said no, she had one, but she was going to visit her boyfriend that weekend, so she didn't have time to think about a job. Odd that one who isn't unemployed would buy a plane ticket and fly north for a few days, right? Right. She left and we decided that when she returned we will give her a welcome meal. We made a whole bunch of food, lots of it vegetarian, and when she showed up, she just shook her head at the fact that we also had made meat. Matt assured her the meat and veggies had been cooked separately. She said, "It doesn't matter, you are prolonging your existence on this earth at the expense of another." The others and I were quite horrified at her rudeness, but we kept it to ourselves. In the 3 weeks that followed, Sarah was still unemployed. She spent all her time playing video games in the family room. She would play the same game over and over and over. Some crappy looking RPG from the 90s. It had an unpronounceable name, but Sarah said she was bonded to the game. She also told us that she changed her name to be that of one of the game characters. Upon further discussion, she explained that she believed she was a human incarnation of this character and that they shared a soul. Right. A week later, she announced she was leaving again, this time going to the UK to visit an online friend. Still no job. She was still doing nothing but playing video games, complaining, digging around on the computer, and sleeping. That's it. Still trying to find a way to bring her into the group, I even took her to the airport. About 24 hours later, there is a frantic phone call from Sarah to the house. It seemed that she was denied entry into the UK. What? That's like being denied entry into Canada. That's just sad. I picked her up at the airport after she was deported and I tried talking to her. I couldn't get much out of her because she was a blithering, crying mess. But apparently UK officials looked through her laptop and that had greatly upset her. She also said they took her back with her medication so she couldn't control her emotional problems. Oh, emotional problems. Well, that explains a lot. She asked me to not tell the others about her needing medicine to keep sane. I said I wouldn't tell them, but I suggested she do that since the others were kind of losing their patience with her. She was still unemployed and still had not produced a resume for everyone to pass around, and I felt sorry for her. So I offered her a job at the store I worked as a part-time cashier. She said she didn't like dealing with customers, who does, and that she was quote-unquote overqualified for the job. What? Yes, everyone is overqualified to ring on a register, but when you need money, right? Nice way to show gratitude. So, it's the middle of the second month and Sarah still hasn't found a job and doesn't seem to be looking. She tells us she is having a house guest for a week. Matt tells her that all guests staying more than 3 days need everyone's approval. She complains and says this is for her mental health. The guest is the person she was trying to visit in the UK. We all tell her that we have heavy work schedules that week, so if she needs to get places, she will need to use the bus or cabs. She is the only one without a car. She says fine. The guest arrives. The guest introduces herself as the right bishop something. I laugh, thinking it's a joke. Apparently it's not. This person thinks she's actually this bishop whose name I can't pronounce or spell, so something will be his or her or its name. She also thinks she's a man, but that's another story. Something and Sarah spend the week playing video games, sleeping, playing on the computer, and eating everyone else's food. I learned that week that Bishop Something was another character in another video game. Apparently these people are sharing their craziness online, and apparently there are more of them. There's liking something, there's fanning something, and then there's this insanity. Anyway, the fourth night of Something's visit, one of the engineers decided to barbecue in honor of Matt's birthday. We always do something decent for Matt, since he is the best landlord ever. I made a cake, the lawyer got some really nice wine, he collects it, and the other engineer helped cook because she's awesome like that. We invited Sarah and Something to join us, and engineer number 2 even offered to make them veggie burgers that she had bought especially for them. They turned down the offer and instead made protest signs and wandered around muttering something about being pacifists but still willing to call in their army to destroy us for barbecue. This was apparently very funny to them, but none of us got the joke. After about 20 minutes of their chanting around as we tried to eat, The lawyer told him to grow the fuck up, get new meds for your insanity, and leave us in peace. Sarah started to cry and scream that no one understood her and how she hates it when people assume she doesn't conform to the norm or that she is insane. Something rushed to her aid, but not before telling us that we were horrible people and that we didn't know that Sarah suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder for being teased incessantly in grade school. Matt, always the voice of reason, said, "You cannot get PTSD from being teased. You get PTSD from being raped, from being a witness to a violent crime, or from being in war." Something started to argue with him when Sarah reappeared. She cried and said she was going to sue Matt for making her living environment hostile. He just nodded to her and started eating his barbecue. And this is where the real fun begins. Tune in next time. I showed the other housemates this post and they began giving me more stories that I was not aware of involving Sarah. Carrie has some especially good ones since they were on the same floor and shared a bathroom. I now have lots of material to entertain you with. Let's hope I have time to type it all up. Before I get back to the sick, sad story that is Sarah, I will answer some questions that came up in the comments and private messages. Number 1. No, we're not looking for a new housemate. Number 2. The game Sarah was obsessed with is called Suikoden. I'm not sure of the spelling, but that's what it sounds like. Number 3. I won't tell you the character name since she legally changed her last name to that character's last name. Number 4. Yes, apparently the character is male. Yeah, Sarah is definitely female. Number 5. Yes, I used to be on LiveJournal, but since I'm a furry porn hentai artist, I left during Bold Out. I only read commissions these days, but after seeing this one highlighted, I had to share my story of sad. Number 6. She moved in during February of 2007. I should have mentioned that while posting the story. And to simplify things, here are the players in this crazy game. Pete, that's me, I'm the retail manager. Matt, the landlord, he works as a high school guidance counselor. Carrie is the mechanical engineer and only female until Sarah came along. Zach is the computer engineer, works for a major software design company, very quiet. Dan, professional pet sitter, he's never home because he's too busy. And Tim, the lawyer, he speaks his mind all the time. Sarah, a girl who believes she is a male video game character and the rest of the world are ignorant fools. Unemployed. Something, a girl from the UK who believes she's a man and also a video game character. Sarah's friend she met online. Boyfriend, Sarah's boyfriend who lives in another part of the state. So, where did we leave off? Oh yeah, the barbecue. The emissary and the house meeting. March 2007. Following the incident at the barbecue, Sarah retreated to her room and would send something out to procure her food. This seclusion went on for 2 days until something came downstairs bearing a letter from Sarah. The letter asked us all to meet with her that evening. Matt agreed to have a house meeting and all of us were there, even Dan, who is rarely home. We sat in the family room and waited for Sarah to arrive at the appointed time. She and something made quite a show. They came downstairs together, Sarah wrapped in a blanket and wearing her pajamas and leaning on something. Something prefaced the meeting with some nonsense about how everything said in the room was not to leave the room, and how we had to be careful of Sarah's mental state and how we must approach things with an open mind. No, I don't think so. You're invading my space and wasting my time with your crazy stuff. Matt said, we will listen to you. I cannot promise anything else. Sarah lifted her head and started to talk. She started with, I am sorry, but you have to understand where I'm coming from. She also said, lots of people cannot understand me because I have such a high intellect, it is beyond your grasp. Excuse us for being sane, bitch. Anyway, from there we heard about various things, including number 1, her parents were awful to her because they didn't understand her. They didn't accept her as this video game character and her father threatened to disown her after she changed her name. All her mother wanted was a doll to dress up to give lots of presents. It wasn't fair that they couldn't accept her for what she was. Number 2, the kids in middle school picked on her and this caused her to have problems. It wasn't fair that people picked on her because she was different. Who didn't get ripped on middle school? Get over it. Number 3, the only people who understand her are her online friends who also believe they are video game characters. They have created their own safe haven, and since she started the soul bonding movement, she has had lots of followers. Number 4, she used to belong to a fandom, but left because people trivialized her alter ego and used him in porn. At this point, I really wanted to look the guy up and draw him getting anally raped by tentacles and toilet plungers and then post it on the fridge. But I just didn't have the time. We listened, we nodded, most of us refrained from rolling our eyes. Matt asked, "Are you receiving professional help?" She said she didn't have any insurance, so she hadn't been able to get in to see anyone lately. This raised a flag with Tim. He asked, "Didn't your job give you insurance?" And then the truth began to come out. She never had a job. She never lived in the state. She lived on the East Coast and decided that California will be more accepting of her. She started looking online for a place to stay and found us. To get past our screenings, she had an online friend who worked at a programming company pretend to be her boss. The driver's license she faxed us for the background check was legit, kinda. She visited California and used another internet friend address as her own to get her license. We asked her to leave. Matt even offered to let her stay there for April, since she paid for it, and gave her that $500 back when she moved out by May 1st. She started to cry. Something tried to stick up for her, but Dan told her to shut up. She didn't live here. They went back upstairs and we all thought that was the end of it, and that she will be gone come May 1st. But, it was not. She did not leave. She caused many more problems. Next time, we learn how she's paying for everything, among other things. A few points I didn't get a chance to deal with in comments because I have been working doubles all weekend. Number 1, background checks, at least those in the US, only verify whether or not someone has been in trouble with the law. It doesn't check on mental health issues, as those are considered private medical information. Number 2, she was a different person when we interviewed her. That part of her returned when she got back on her meds. Number 3, when we started interviewing for her space, we added, "Are you involved in any online fandoms?" to our list of questions. We don't care if you're a Trekkie, furry, anime, game freak. We care that you are stable enough to get along with other human beings. Number 4, someone questioned me whether or not I was insulting Soulbonders. Look, you want to believe in your heart of hearts that you're actually a video game character? Fine. You can even live in my house, but you can't be rude and obnoxious and expect the world to revolve around you because you think you're some kind of special intellectual cupcake, because you're not. Something soul name or whatever sounded like Sasarai. I don't know what game is that from. Something's visit started at 7 days, or at least that's what we were told. Remember, we were not giving any option on this. Something just showed up. Anyway, after Sarah's breakdown, something changed her plane ticket. Airline tickets are expensive. Changing an international airline ticket is insanely expensive. How was something affording this? She didn't seem like anyone who has ever held down a real job. Things were getting stranger and stranger. Something was definitely female, but insisted on being referred to as male, like her soul character. I'll call something a she because she was physically female. The housemates began to get annoyed that something decided to crash here for another 10 days, and we were not told until something herself told Matt, "I am staying." Oh really? How can you decide you're staying? Matt said, "So nice of you to decide that my house is your house." She said, "I have to take care of Sarah. She hasn't come out of her room since you told her she has to leave. I have been bringing her food and making sure she takes care of herself up there." "That's a lie," Matt said. "I've seen the two of you down here using the TV to play games." "But she'll only come out if I'm with her." "I don't even know your real name," Matt answered. "I know you were not born with the name you use, and I don't trust people who can't even tell me their real name." Something gave him some story about how she was this bishop and how everything he was saying was an insult to her religion. She spent about 20 minutes trying to explain this religion of soul bonding to Matt, Zach, and I. Finally, Matt told her she could stay the 10 days, but after that, she was going to a hotel or he was calling the cops. Then he told her that he wanted to talk to Sarah that evening. Something said she will relay the message. Matt told Sarah that something was annoying the household and that she was taking advantage of his good nature by keeping her there. He also offered to take her to see a psychiatrist who was a friend of his that he met working through the school. He said she wouldn't have to pay a thing because his friend agreed to see her as a favor to him. She reluctantly accepted. The next morning, Matt took Sarah to the doctor while something fretted about not being allowed to go. Sarah asked for her to come, but Matt said no. Something spent the better part of that morning whining to everyone who was in the house. She flopped down on the sofa and said that she had a right to be there with Sarah because Sarah had shown her path and she needed to give back to her friend in need. Zach told her to grow up, and Zach rarely talks to anyone he doesn't know. I asked her how Sarah could afford to live here. She said that was Sarah's business. I said it was our business, and since she was Sarah's mouthpiece, I expected an answer. She said when Sarah got back, she will have her tell us. It was like talking to a 5-year-old. Matt brought Sarah back. Keep in mind he took a day out of work to run this favor for her, and she went to her room. Something followed. Matt said he couldn't tell us exactly what happened since Sarah saw the shrink by herself, but he did take her to the pharmacy afterwards. In the next few days, Sarah changed. She didn't spend hours in front of the TV or the computer. She smiled, she talked to us, and she even told Something to give it a rest when Something wanted to talk about forming their army again. Whatever drugs she was taking were working. About a full week later, Sarah started filling out job applications online and emailing her resume. She actually seemed to be tired of Something's presence. One evening, while a bunch of us were in the kitchen, I asked how she was able to afford all this without working. She said, "Plain as can be, I have people offer me donations on my blog so I can spread the news of my religion." Her religion being that she's actually a male video game character from a game that came out in the 90s. What? So there are some morons out there who are giving money to Sarah so she can pretend to be a video game character and teach others how to do the same? Something said, "We give her things because she has helped us find our true selves." "So you don't work either?" Tim asked. I could tell he was ready to explode. "No, I get government benefits in the UK." "Why?" "Because I don't like to work." Okay, no one likes to work. If given the option, I bet just about everyone in the world will say, "I'll rather be doing X, but I need the money, so I do Y." But asking people to donate to you so you can travel around and sit on your ass, that is just wrong. Even worse, there are people out there who do it. Sarah's boyfriend is apparently the worst enabler in this group. According to Something, he bought her a car that she sold, plane tickets, and sends her money on a regular basis. And I thought some of the people I met at furrycons were stupid. Finally, Something left. I was almost cheering as Zach took them to the airport. Then, the very next day, Sarah had good news. She had an interview for a job as a tester at a software company. Matt asked her if she had started to look for a new place because it was now April. She said she had looked at some places online, but needed to visit them in person. Even Tim offered to give her rides to check them out. So, what do you think happened next? Ooh, the story is just getting started. Sarah screwed us all royally. Not to mention her job. Ooh, that's a story in and of itself. Replying to comments messages again. Number 1, I'm not going to give you a link to Sarah's site. I will not tell you if you guessed correctly or not either. Number 2, to my knowledge, she is still managing to get her money off people who believe her soul bonding religion or whatever it's called. Number 3, I don't care if this gives Soulbonders a bad name. If you want to whine about it in your Soulbond communities, go for it. I'm just telling you what happened. Number 4, this is not an attack on fandom. I like fandom. I don't like people who take it too far and con others out of money. She managed to get a job doing software testing, ironically where our former housemate, the one who married, worked. I'll tell you more about her work ethic in a future post. Suffice it to say, she was shocked to learn your boss gets mad when you update your "I'm a video game character" block from work. Anyways, since she had started taking her meds, she was actually decent to be around and stopped being a complete and total freak. I didn't hear the retarded chimes of that video game in the family room either. There was a week between her getting the job and starting the job, and this required her going for drug testing and stuff. I dropped her to do that, and when we were leaving, she asked if I would take her to the airport the next day. I asked why. Oh, because her boyfriend has sent her cash for a plane ticket to come and see him for the weekend. Smart. The weekend before you start a new job, you travel. Brilliant. I told her I would, but she will have to give me gas money since the airport is about an hour from the house. She said, "But I have no money." I told her to stop lying. I knew she was making money off her "I'm such a gifted intellectual who is a video game character and it's my religion" blog. She shrugged. It was worth a try. She smirked. Oh yeah, she was a devious bitch. She leaves for the weekend and then her flight back Sunday night gets delayed by 4 hours. She didn't get in until 2 in the morning and hadn't asked anyone to pick her up. So what does she do? She calls the house. Tim answered the phone and told her to take a cab. When she got home at 4 in the morning after finding a cab, she started yelling and screaming, waking everyone up. She cursed everyone and told us we were not being sensitive to her needs. Mast asked her point blank if she was taking her meds. She said no, because my boyfriend says they're bad for me. Tim told her to grow the fuck up and get back on the pills. The rest of us returned to our rooms while she threw a fit. Stuff was pulled out of the cabinets. Carrie said she smashed a few of her coffee mugs. Cabinets slammed, and she broke a window with a wooden spoon. When I left for work later that morning, she was sitting in a heap in the family room playing her game. I left her there. So much for her first day at work. She called in sick. Nice impression. Matt came home from work and told her she had 2 choices. Go with him to see his shrink friend again, or he was calling the cops about all the breakage. She did. The next morning she got up and went to work. That evening she apologized to all of us and offered to pay for the broken stuff when she got her first check. Everyone just nodded. She said her boyfriend was coming to visit for a weekend the following week. Tim said, "You better stay on those damn pills." Sarah worked those 4 days and then the following week, putting us in the middle of April. Then her boyfriend arrived. He was a nice guy and we couldn't figure out what he was doing with such a head case. But of course, you guessed it, he was one of those Soulbonders. Except he believed he was a dragon. That's right, a fucking dragon. Tim asked him to breathe fire. Apparently that was offensive to him, but he had better humor about it than Sarah. And he didn't claim to have PTSD like Sarah did. Sarah went crazy cleaning before she came. She told Carrie to vacuum her room because her boyfriend was allergic to just about everything. Carrie replied that her boyfriend was not invited into her room, so it shouldn't be an issue. Sarah said even the dust from over there will cause him to break out. Carrie told her to stuff it. Sarah also had the gall to tell Matt that his dogs couldn't be in the house while boyfriend was there. Matt told her, "I like my dogs more than your boyfriend. He can sleep outside." One interesting thing about him was that he calls Sarah by her video game name, which is decisively male. Dan asked him if he was gay. That pissed him off, but it was still funny. Sarah whined that we weren't being very nice to her guest. Dan said, "Why should we be? Last one you brought home stayed way too long and this guy just pays for you to live in a delusion." Ooh, that set the boyfriend off. We didn't know that plenty of people in the world were Soulbonders and other kin and that we were racists. Now, I don't know how those demographic groups qualify as a race, but okay. He said we were harassing Sarah and that we better watch it. Matt said, "I've been making sure your girlfriend has been getting her medicine that she needs. You should be more thankful." Then the boyfriend started off on how medicating someone like Sarah was wrong and just a way for the drug companies to make money. He said that drugs stunted Sarah's creativity. Tim said, "You mean her craziness? Because normal people do not believe there are gender-bent video game characters." A day later, the boyfriend left. We were now about a week and a half from Sarah's supposed departure. One night, while we were watching a ball game on TV and Sarah was whining that she wanted to get lost in her world because she had a hard day at work, Tim asked, "When are you leaving?" She said, "I'm not." Matt said, "I told you that you had to be out by May 1st, and since you're a month-to-month tenant, you didn't give me enough notice," she said. "I only have to give a month's notice," Matt said. "I don't have it writing," she replied. "I don't do written leases." Matt said, "I only do month-to-month and over 30 days ago we all told you we wanted you out." "Then you'll have to evict me," she said. And this is where the real fun began. We last saw our nutcase Soulbonder telling us to evict her. Replies. Number 1, thank you for all the kind remarks about my writing. The whole situation is something that I have to laugh at because it was hell on earth while she was here. Number 2, I am doing my best to keep up the story, but I just don't have the time to sit down and write it all at once. Work and all that. Of course, maybe I could start a religion and get people to pay me for it. Number 3, when we first met the boyfriend, we thought he was vegetarian. During her soul party, we learned that he actually ate meat. This made her mad. The Soul Party will be in the next post. Number 4, if you want to link the post somewhere, that's fine. Number 5, I will tag if I could. I tried it and it wouldn't let me. If any of the mods want to give me a tag like Sarah, I'll be sure to use it. Number 6, I'm going camping in a few days, so I'll try to get part 6 done before I go. If not, it'll be a few weeks. In the coming months, we will all learn a lot about landlord/tenant law in California. Tim is a lawyer but not real estate, so while he helped as much as he could, he usually had to look stuff up or call in favors from friends. I have to say, although I'm a tenant, I now feel for landlords. The law in this state clearly shows favor to the tenant in all situations. Now keep the following things in mind. We learned these as we went along and fought this battle for almost a year. Our situation is legally defined as owner-occupied single-family dwelling. We are legally called lodgers, since we rent rooms, not apartments. County law requires a CO if there are more than 4 people lodging. Matt did not have one because he never thought it will become an issue, and he didn't know he needed one. This will be important later. In California, a landlord must show just cause to evict someone, unless it is a single lodger in an owner-occupied single-family dwelling. Emphasis on single. It is illegal to deny housing to anyone with a disability and or on the basis of their religion. Matt gave Sarah written notice a day after Sarah told us we will have to evict her. Matt gave her a written notice that she had 30 days to vacate the premises. He did not give a reason, just a date. Sarah decided to confront him that night in front of all of us. "Why are you kicking me out?" "Because you irritate everyone here," Matt said. "It's just not working out. You'll be happier in your own place where you can do what you want." "I can do what I want here." "No, you can't." "No one fucking likes you," Tim said. "You're crazy. You bring crazy people here and do nothing. We all have jobs and lives that we need to deal with. I don't want to come home and have to make sure I don't cook a hamburger while you're around." "The smell makes me sick," Sarah shouted. "Well, tough fucking shit." Everyone said their piece. Mine was that I really was tired of listening to that fucking game and her insane babblings. Zach complained about the noise. Apparently she liked to dance around in her room when working on her computer at 2 in the morning. His room was under hers, so he heard all of the noise and music. Carrie said that she was tired of getting yelled at to clean the bathroom. It seemed that Sarah cleaned it at least 3 times a week, and that since Carrie didn't, she would get notes under her door. Dan said he just couldn't respect anyone who scammed money off people and didn't want to be a party to something like that. "They give it to me because I founded this subculture. I taught them how to find their true selves." "There is no such thing as a subculture," Tim said. "You believe you're a male video game character and the rest of us are stupid for not understanding this, right?" "Well, I have a very high IQ and I'm very intellectual. It's difficult to relate to me." Tim laid it out for her. "I graduated first in my class at law school. I am smart, but I'm not bragging to the world how awesome I am because I can wake up one day and decide I'm a video game character. It's more than that. I share a soul with him. I relate to him. I understand him. And I'm sure lots of other fangirls do too." And then Sarah started crying. She ran off to her room. We thought that was it, that she'll be gone. But no. A week later, Matt was called by someone from the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Miss Sarah complained that she was being unfairly evicted because of her religious beliefs. He was instructed that someone from their office will be coming to the house for a discussion as part of their investigation. So this guy shows up a few days later and sits down with Matt, Tim, and I. First off, he wants to see Matt's CO, which is the certificate of occupancy. Matt says he doesn't have one. Tim said that it was a private residence and we were just friends that were sharing the place. The guy asked if we pay rent. Tim said we help pay taxes and upkeep, but not rent. So then the guy wants to know how we are discriminated against Sarah. We told him the whole story, and he kept cracking up. Tim said, "This is a private residence and we just don't want to put up with someone like that." The guy said he dismissed her complaint since her religion was obviously a scam, but he warned that this wasn't a private residence anymore and that Matt needed to get a CO as soon as possible because if Sarah tried to claim discrimination again, it could very well be an issue. Getting a CO requires an inspection and a whole bunch of other headaches I was glad I didn't have to deal with. Matt made all the arrangements from his work because he was afraid that Sarah might pick up on the fact that he didn't have one and cause more problems. Still, he didn't have it by the end of May. this will be a problem later. As the month wound to a close, Sarah was still being a pain in the ass, but she was at least taking her pills. She wasn't completely delusional, but none of us really wanted to talk to her anymore. Matt decided to piss her off by taking the TV out of the family room. He warned us before he did it. None of us cared since we either had our own sets in our rooms, bought them, or in Dan's case didn't watch TV unless it was soccer. Sarah had a shit fit. She didn't have a TV, so she couldn't get lost in her world. So, what did she do? She started asking her loser friends for money. She also started selling her fanfiction and essays on soulbonding. She used one of those lousy self-published sites where no one checks what you're actually publishing. She asked me to do the cover for her. I told her it will cost her $200. She said, "Consider it a donation to the cause. You're a furry. You know how fandom supports each other." I told her I am not a furry. I just draw furry art. I wouldn't want to be called a furry after some of the things that furries do. Just as I was certain that there were Soulbonders who didn't want to be called that after what she does. A week later, she had a TV delivered. It was a nice one, probably set her Soulbond freak friends back $600 or more. Then she complains there is no cable in her room, but she pays the cable bill. Some rooms have it, others don't, and since when she moved in, she picked her room knowing there wasn't any. Anyway, she told Matt he had to get it installed for her since she was paying for it. He told her she could keep the $10 a month for the cable, but that he wasn't paying for that, and that he didn't want his house ripped up while they run a line. She said she had a right to cable. A right to cable? Is that like a right to porn? And that looks like a good place to stop for now. Coming up on future episodes, Sarah at work, Soul Party, and Sarah fights back. Carrie is going to try and write some about Sarah at work while I'm gone. She will post with this journal since she doesn't have one. If you want to write a play story about this, go ahead. Send me a link when it's done. They multiply like drunken bunnies. Replies. Number 1. Yes, you may friend my journal. I don't write on it anymore, but I do read LiveJournal. Number 2. Yes, someone can be evicted if they have a disability, but the reason for the eviction cannot be their disability. Same goes for religion, ethnicity, marital status, etc. Number 3. Last post for a few weeks since I'm going camping. When Sarah didn't move out at the end of her 30 days, Matt filed an unlawful detainer on her, which is basically a legal paper that says get the fuck out. Sarah contested it and complained that she was being evicted for religious reasons and because we did not like her disability. So this went to Landlord Tenant court, but not for 2 months because they were so backed up. In the meantime, we were investigated. Oh, and we moved the TV back into the family room because Sarah was bothering everyone else to use their TVs with cable. We figured it was less annoying to have her down there. But that's all boring legal stuff. Let's talk about the Soul Party. We had our 4th of July party at the house like we always do. Everyone invites friends and it's a lot of fun. Sarah chose to sit in her room and sulk at all the animals we were killing to celebrate. You know, because barbecue is the same thing as a ritual sacrifice. I was kinda hoping she will come down and protest in front of everyone, but I guess without something around, she didn't like to act like a total ass. So I was kinda disappointed in that one. Lo and behold, 2 days later, something shows up unannounced. Matt said, "Fuck no, that piece of trash is not staying here." Sarah said, "Well, if you have a party, I can have a party, and I'm having a party this weekend and something is here to help me prepare." "No parties without my approval," Matt said. "Tell that to the judge, I'm feeling discriminated against." Did I mention what a fucking bitch she was? Yeah, I thought so. Anyway, that Friday I came home from work around 8:30 p.m. to find the other housemates sitting out in the carriage house drinking beer and looking all kinds of pissed off. Matt was inside. They said why? Because 12 people plus something had shown up for Sarah's party. They all brought pillows and blankets, so they intended to sleep over. And who were the people? Fellow Soulbonders, people she met on the internet. Matt dragged Sarah out of the house and we all confronted her. Something ran behind them like a drunk frat boy chasing a can of Bud. Whatever the shit was, it was not going on. He said, "No one in my house that I don't know." "You didn't know they're friends," she said. "Their friends didn't come from the internet and use fake names." That did it. Something laid into Matt. This was her real name. This is who she really is, and he was insulting her by calling her anything but the right bishop something. Tim said, "I'll like you try that shit at the passport control." That's different, that's not part of my world. That's my travel into my world. Huh? Is anyone following this logic train? I think I missed my fucking stop. Enough, Matt said. You have until 10 p.m. After that, I'm calling the cops and throwing everyone out. But shut up, Tim said. That's more than gracious. I will throw all of you out now. Then you need to go away, something said. This is a religious right. It's my fucking house. I'm going to watch TV, Matt said, and he walked towards the house. Something grabbed his shirt. Oh no, she didn't. Oh yes, she did. You will disturb the something astral something. I don't remember exactly what she called it, but if we, the unbelievers, interrupted their ceremony, there will be problems. Matt said, "Take your hands off me before I call the cops now." Sarah started crying. The rest of us just walked into the house. Now, the others had seen her setting up this shit, but I had just got home. Sarah had darkened the family room by hanging blankets over the windows. She also put a bunch of candles out and turned the coffee tables into some kind of altar. It had a white cloth, candles, books, and the expensive silver candlesticks from the dining room. I can promise that she did not have permission to touch those. They are over 100 years old and a family heirloom for Matt. We only used them for the house Christmas dinner. We all walked into the family room and saw the Soulbond freaks in there. Some were dressed in cosplay outfits. The boyfriend was there too. He asked where Sarah was. Dan said, "We just gave her a verbal lashing. She's outside. Go deal with her." Matt took the candlesticks from the altar to put them away despite the protests of another one of those losers. Then we sat down in the family room that they had commandeered, and Tim turned off that retarded game and put on a movie. One of the people said, "I thought we were going to play the game." "You're not. You guys are out of here by 10 p.m. or we're calling the cops." "Could we have this room until then?" another one asked. "Nope. We pay rent so we can use our house." "I was told I could sleep here," some girl said. "Well, you can't." She seemed genuinely scared. "Where can I go?" "A hotel will be a good idea," I said. "I don't have money for a hotel." "You guys send Sarah money, right? I'm sure she has enough." The group of them just sort of cowered until something returned. "We are being persecuted for our beliefs by these people." "You have the room until 10 p.m., Matt said. "We'll be in the kitchen." We all followed Matt out. Tim said we shouldn't give in. Matt said, "I want to see the ritual." We watched from the dining room where we ate pizza. The boyfriend asked us to go somewhere else because they didn't want us watching. Matt told him to shut the fuck up and added, "You have 43 minutes left." Sarah came downstairs, dressed in a white dress. She kept glancing at us. Something stood between her and us, so she couldn't see us, I guess, and she began talking. She talked about how this was Betty's awakening, and how Betty was now going to finally realize her potential by harnessing the soul of a video game character. I couldn't stand it. I started cracking up. The rest of the housemates started cracking up too. Sarah started screaming at all of us, calling us racists. Now, I don't know how being a Soulbonder is a race, but okay. Then we were called Nazis. Oh, that's lovely. I guess if you're sane and don't believe that your video game character dragging a wart on someone's ass, you're a Nazi. This was better than any kind of television show you can imagine. See if you can picture all of these nutjobs kneeling around the altar as the video game played its music in the background. Sarah stood over them, preaching this religion, and the right bishop something would occasionally interject something deep from her position. Sarah was really getting upset, so more of her friends made the human wall. We could still hear all the stupid even after they turned off the volume on the video game. 5 minutes before their time was up, Matt shouted, "Calling the cops on 5. "You are being disrespectful," one of them said. A few bits of profanity were thrown back and forth, and then one of the guys in her group threw a punch at Tim. Bad fucking move, dude. Matt called the cops. They showed up 20 minutes later. Matt said, "I want all these losers out of my house." Tim pressed assault charges on the asshole who tried to punch him. The boyfriend complained to the cops that we were persecuting Sarah, who had now retreated to her room. Something had run up there as well. Matt said, "There's one upstairs that doesn't live here. Get rid of her too." The cops went up there and told Something she had to leave. Something threw a fit. Sarah threw a fit as well. She was entitled to guess. She was entitled to practice her faith in peace. The cops said Sarah could stay since she was a tenant, but everyone else had to go. The boyfriend said he found hotel rooms nearby. They packed up their altar and crap and headed there. Something escorted Sarah, holding her like a fragile doll. Something had the balls to ask us to help shuttle everyone to the hotel. I don't think so. The one that was arrested for assault left with the cops. He eventually pled no contest to the assault and got a fine. We thought after that she wouldn't want to stay. But she did. She also filed a frivolous small claim lawsuit on the basis that we had stolen her candles and time. Yes, her time. I guess being a fake priestess in a fake religion is worth $300 an hour? Who knew? The candles that we stole were the ones that were in Matt's candlesticks when he took them back. He actually brought them to court and gave them back to her in front of the judge. But she would remain. She would remain and continue to be a pain in the ass. One final note before I get going. Why would someone want to continue to live in a place where they were obviously not welcome? Cost? Location? No, not for Sarah. Sarah claimed she felt close to her soulbond in her house. She claimed that it felt like a house that this guy would live in and that her soul was at ease in our home. Next time, Sarah at work, discrimination claims, and more fun with this nutcake. Hi, it's Carrie again. I thought you might like some stories about Sarah at work. I got these from our former housemate Becky, who worked in the same place. Becky was the best roommate ever. She and I shared a bathroom and hallway for about 2 years and we were very good friends. Everyone in the house was and is good friends, but we were especially close maybe because we were the only women in the house of guys. And guys can be slobs, so we would get on their cases to vacuum and stuff. Someone left a comment that they didn't think our house is safe because it's too cheap. Well, it is safe. The house is about 100 years old and it was paid for long ago. Matt doesn't have a mortgage, so all the money from our rent goes towards maintenance and paying the lawn service and stuff like that. Matt could afford to live here without tenants, but chooses not to because he likes having people around. That's one reason we are so picky about who lives here and why we got even more picky after Sarah left. Sarah at work. Becky didn't work in the same department as Sarah, but after a month everyone in the building knew her. She had the biggest victim complex and didn't try to make friends. She just made problems. One of those problems was her desk. Sarah worked in a cubicle. She didn't like having her back to whoever walked in like all the other cubes were arranged. So she moved her computer so that she was facing whoever walked into her cube. She did this without asking and it really ticked off her boss. While John, the boss, was not a bad guy, Becky said he liked to walk by and make sure his people were doing their jobs and not playing around the internet. That was one of his pet peeves. So, John told Sarah she had to move her desk back. Then Sarah said she had a glare on her screen, so she moved it. John said he will get her a glare protector, and she said that was not good enough. He asked her why she wanted to phase out. She said she didn't like people coming behind her. It scared her. She started crying and John just let it go. The next thing she did was decorate her cube. The company doesn't have a policy about decorations, just that they can't distract anyone else or violate fire codes. Sarah brought in tie-dye scarves and put them over the lights. The guy from safety said they had to go because they violated fire codes. Sarah said they were religious symbols and that she was being violated by being asked to take them down. Safety guy wrote her up for refusing to adhere to safety codes. Sarah tried to fight it with HR, and that dragged on for a few weeks before they basically told her she didn't have a case. HR then changed the rules and said all cube decorations were not allowed, including holiday decorations. Everyone had to take down their posters, plans, and knickknacks. Only family photographs were allowed. When word got around that it was because of Sarah, she had made lots of enemies. Then Sarah was supposed to attend some kind of lunch and train. That's what they call them in my place of employment, but I can't remember what Becky called it. Basically, you go and they give you lunch and do some training with you. The people putting it together sent emails around asking what people wanted to lunch. Becky said the options were typical: ham and cheese, chicken salad, vegetarian/vegan, and kosher. Sarah selected vegan, of course. When the day of the lunch and train thing happened, Sarah threw a fit in front of everyone. Becky said there were some really big cheese guys there, and they were aghast at this behavior from a lowly tester. Sarah was complaining that vegetarians eat more than salads, and it was a personal attack on her to serve her a salad as her lunch. Now, at my company, they give you a few choices because they order these lunch from catering. You don't expect this to be a 5-star dining experience, it's just supposed to be food. I don't know if Sarah didn't understand that this wasn't going to be personally tailored to her or what, but I can just imagine her in this conference room yelling and screaming because as a vegetarian she had to eat salad? Another thing she did was fall asleep at her desk at work. Becky said John was having an awful time with her about it. The first time, John woke her and asked if she was okay, thinking maybe she had passed out. She whined about how her PTSD and depression and ADHD and OCD and Asperger's and all that crap she claimed to have was affecting her. Since she played the disability card now, John was now stuck with trying to accommodate her, and she knew it. Now that it was established that she was disabled, she told John she wanted different hours. He had to comply. She said that having to be there at 8 was just too early, so he moved her to 9 AM start. Then she said she felt cramped in her desk, so she got a bigger cube. She said she got tired at 2 PM, so she started taking naps in the lunch. She said the noise from the office was distracting her, so she could wear her iPod while she worked. This girl knew how to play the system. More later, I need to go to a meeting. I've been watching Carrie fill in for Pete and figured I'll give this a try. My name is Tim, I use dirty language, and some of this has sexual references. There's a warning in case we have any kitties out there. Oh, Carrie wanted me to clarify for her that Sarah put the scarves over the overhead lights, not a lamp on her desk. From the comments to these posts, I'm gathering that this Soulbond nonsense is actually pretty popular on the internet. I don't know why people on the internet feel that they belong to special subcultures, but maybe it has to do with sharing delusions. If you share a delusion that you're a male video game character who looks like a bunch of badly crafted pixelated dots with others, maybe it makes you feel better and justifies your stupidity. I don't know, and I don't really want to spend this post discussing the psychology really, the psychosis of Sarah and her soul-bonded friends. I don't believe in that crap, and I sure as hell don't believe that because other people play in that water park that makes it safe and fun for all. People seem to have been guessing about Sarah's identity and her webpage and blog. I'm going to stick with Pete's philosophy of not openly stating who she is, even though her craziness is pretty public and in your face. Hell, I bet you can Google it and it'll still be there. Somehow I don't think that after all that's happened, she has stopped this crap. In fact, I bet she has kicked it up to a degree so she can get more money out of people. Insane bitch that she is. How about a Sarah story? I know that's what you want. It's what everyone wants. Even my ex-wife asks me to tell her stories about this nut because it's so insane. It can't not be true. How about Sarah and the boyfriend and me being an asshole? Now, I know Pete and Carrie have told you about the boyfriend and how he will call Sarah by her soul man name in casual conversations, discussions, and even when they were making the beast with 2 backs. That's an image I'm sure everyone wanted at 7 in the morning. I need more coffee now myself. Anyway, the boyfriend will visit quite often. The first time we met him, he seemed nice enough, but I don't know why he'll be doing Sarah. As a girl, she wasn't that pretty. As a man, she looked like a girl. So I don't know what this dude's fetish was, and frankly, I don't want to know. I mean, unless a girl who likes to pretend she's a man is your kind of thing, I guess. Did they use a strap-on? I don't know. And I'm not going to conjecture about something like that because the thought makes me want to vomit. So, one time when the boyfriend was over and I was about 6 beers into a case and he was replaying that stupid game, I said, "Do you suck dick?" He just looked at me like I had killed his favorite dog or something. So, I repeated myself, "Do you suck dick?" "Why?" he asked. I don't know if he was asking why I was asking or why people suck dick. And I was really kinda tired of Mrs. Soulbond and her friends, so I let him have it. Sarah came in and yelled at me for harassing her boyfriend, so I asked her if she sucked dick. She also asked why, so I gave them both this answer. Well, if you're a guy and you suck dick, you're gay. If you're a guy and you don't suck dick, you're not gay. If you're a girl and you suck dick, you're straight. And if you're a girl and you don't suck dick, you're a bad date. I let that sink in and then said, So, Sarah, if you really are a man, do you suck dick? Does that make your boyfriend dragon whatever he is gay? Then she called me a gay basher. So I said, I'm not a gay basher, I'm just curious about the sexual frustrations of an obviously gender confused girl. And then I got a whole long story about how this guy is her animus, whatever that is, and how she is just his vessel for spreading the word of peace. So I said, so you're Jesus and you do suck dick. I think the Christian coalition is going to shit their pants. And then she and the boyfriend left. Thank God, because I wanted to watch a movie and I couldn't do it while they were sitting there picking apart that stupid game for the millionth time. And how about that time in August 7th when something came back? Something had this problem about flying in unannounced. Matt had basically given up fighting this bitch because by this time, Sarah was pressing litigation on him about being discriminated against because she is disabled. This bitch gives everyone with disabilities a bad name because she fakes them all. I have never heard of anyone getting PTSD from people teasing them. I have never heard of people waking up one day and deciding they have Asperger's. I am sick of dumbasses like Sarah self-diagnosing because all the cool kids are doing it. Oh look, an excuse for me to be even more of a social moron. Look, they can't pick on me now because I'm special. That's the reason that only really smart people understand me and the rest of you are just bottom-feeding losers. Oh yeah, today I woke up with OCD too. That was her fucking style. And now I went off on a tangent, sorry. Back to Something's August arrival. Sarah announces that Something is at the airport and that we need to go get her. I said, make the she-men take the calf. I'm not driving out there to pick up the trash. Sarah got all emotional because how I was insulting her family. Some tubby bitch who thinks it's a man you meet on the internet because you share the same delusions as your family? Try again, sweetheart. Sarah threw a fit. I don't think Pete or Carrie explained what these fits were. First, Sarah will whine and play her victim game. Next, she will pout, stomp her feet, and cry. The third stage will be yelling and screaming about discrimination and hate-mongering. And then finally, she will retreat to her computer where she will probably blog all about how special she was and how the rest of the world were just a bunch of fucking losers. Thank God she's gone. Something arrives via CAF and immediately starts berating Zach and I, because we were the ones home, about how mean we were to Sarah. I said the bitch has been asked to leave. She's making us evict her, she could just fucking leave and she'll be happy, and I'll be so happy I'll run around the block naked. She can't leave, don't you see how fragile and emotional and whatever? Something went on forever talking and I wasn't listening. About how we damaged Sarah and her safe places and how we were all evil, unloving, mean people, because we can't understand why someone will claim to be a video game character. Then she said her soul bond is weakening from all the hate. Yeah, you got that. Her soul bond is weakening from all the hate. I couldn't resist. Good, maybe she'll be fucking normal. Oh, that did it. Something screamed at me. We are normal. You're not normal. We're more in tune with our bodies and spirits and the spirits in games. Games have spirits? I just thought that wet stuff came from Sarah ramming the disc between her legs once in a while. And I wish I had a way to record her screaming this shit at me because it will totally be an awesome YouTube video. Oh, here's one for you. One of Sarah's local followers came by the house one day while Something was there. She was a quiet little girl, but before she was allowed to see Sarah, Something quizzed her repeatedly in the kitchen about how true her soul bond was. Something also put her hands on the girl's shoulder to see if she could feel the soul bond. The girl was clearly terrified of this nuts line of questioning and started to leave. Then Sarah came out from the butler's pantry and said, "So you're going to take us to the museum and lunch? We can discuss the strength of your bond while we're out." "Don't go with them," I said. "They're scammers and they're nuts, and if you're this desperate for friends, go buy yourself a blow-up doll. They're smarter and more useful." I think between me and the freak show that Something was putting on, the girl just really freaked out and ran out of the house. What did Sarah do? She looked at Something and coldly said, "Well, I guess we're not going to the museum." So, there you have it, some insanity for your day. Well, you get two Sarah stories today, I guess. And it looks like you have met Tim. To the people who think we were mean to Sarah, let me remind you that we were all nice. We cooked her a meal to welcome her, we tried to include her in things we did on the house, but none of those things mattered. I really tried to get along with her because I was the one who pushed the guys into taking her since I really wanted another woman around, and I often feel like this was all my fault. But we all make mistakes. Sometimes those mistakes are expensive, annoying, and bring crazy people from other countries to crash at your place. But I guess I learned something. I learned that I can't trust people after just one quick interview, and that some people are artists at conning the system. Anyway, Sarah at work. I left off yesterday in the middle of a thought. Sarah had all kinds of issues at work. One time she brought something along with her. See, something had a really bad habit of not doing anything but arriving on our doorstep and being a pain in the rear. Since she was a guest of Sarah and Sarah was giving Matt all kinds of trouble about her disabilities, Matt really didn't fight about something unless something did something bad. Well, one day something wanted to go to work with Sarah, probably because Tim was home that day and something and Tim hated each other. So she took something to work with her. Something didn't even dress correctly for the office. Instead, she wore that ridiculous costume that she'll wear on occasion. I know some people like to wear costumes, but you don't wear them to the office unless it's a Halloween party. Anyway, Becky told me many people asked something about the outfit, some more nicely than others. Something actually walked around with a pamphlet about this religion and handed them around to these people that Sarah worked with. Sarah found out and wasn't happy about it. Apparently her Soulbond stuff wasn't public knowledge at the office. The two of them got in a fight in the ladies' room and it was so loud they sent a security officer in. Something left the building and Sarah started freaking out. She told John she was going for an early lunch, but she didn't go anywhere. She and Something just sat under a tree in the parking lot. Becky said some people kept walking up to the windows thinking it was a lover's quarrel. Later, Sarah brought Something back inside and they were all friendly again. Something then went around to all the people she gave those flyers to and asked for them back. Most of them wound up in the trash, of course. Something actually picked through people's paper baskets to get them to give back to Sarah. And another thing at work. At some point between Sarah getting the job and getting fired in November, they blocked her Gmail and whatever blog site she was using. She got mad and went to her boss and said she needed access to those things for work-related reasons. He said, talk to IT. Becky is one of the people that Sarah had to go talk about her problem. Becky said that the company had decided to block both sides with good reason and that social networking had no place in the office. Sarah got irate because Becky didn't know this wasn't a social thing, it was her religion. Becky said, sorry, I can't do it. Then Sarah filed a discriminatory complaint against Becky and also accused her of talking down to her and that was unfair to someone with a disability. I guess not being able to be the fake priestess of a fake religion on someone else's time is discriminatory in her eyes. Poor Becky was never charged with much of anything, but the obnoxious letter that Sarah wrote about her will always be in her file, and the week that she was put under a microscope by HR while following up on the complaint was awful for her. I met Becky for a beer that week, and I can tell you she was a total mess. She's the nicest person, and to be accused of not allowing someone to exercise their religious freedoms and talking down to someone with disabilities is just not her. Becky even said, I didn't know she was disabled. I still don't know to what extent. I really felt bad for Becky, but she really felt bad for us knowing what Sarah was putting us all through. I read all your comments. I'm glad some of you understand that Sarah and Something faked everything about themselves. I am also glad that you understand I'm not a bigot, but just thinking about Sarah makes me grind my teeth in anger. Mental illness is not something I like to joke about. My younger sister suffers from a number of them. I have seen her go from someone who was very vibrant and lively to a woman who can't get out of bed half the time. People who fake it or claim it for attention, or in Sarah's case, money, make me sick. To the person who said they wouldn't be mean to Sarah because she was gender bent, get a clue. She was not gender bent. Gender bent or not, she was a pain in the ass. I'll be honest, when she first moved, I liked her. She seemed normal and sane enough. Her real crazy came out when fucking Something arrived. When Sarah was on her drugs and she didn't have any visitors, she was okay to deal with. Some nights, she will even eat dinner with us. Even after we asked her to leave, we were civil to her on a day-to-day basis. When she had her visitors, I was not so nice because they just enabled her into becoming her fucking freaky self. When something was around, it was a different story. Sarah will be crazed, reclusive, and something will say things like, her soul bond is emotional right now. How about she hasn't taken her fucking pills in 2 weeks and she's just a fucking nutcase? To the person I accused of being Sarah, anyone who defends her is skeptical in my book. She had such a large following sending her money, I am certain she has followers that still defend and support her. If you're one of those people, do not send her any more money, and don't defend her. When I asked her boyfriend if he sucked dick, it was after they were caught fucking in the living room. If you're going to put your sex life on display, deal with it. Someone asked about if we had visitors. We did, but no one had visitors as often as Sarah. Sarah's visitors always kept some of ours away. I was afraid to bring my nephew to the house while fucking something was there. I didn't want my sister's kid around that insanity. Oh, and I did catch Sarah wearing her costume. It was a woman named Odessa from that stupid game. She wore it while fucking her boyfriend in my bathtub. One Saturday I got up late and went to take a piss, and the two of them were there. She was getting it from behind, pressed up against the wall, in costume. So maybe I'm a little bitter about that too. Added for clarity, Sarah never dressed a male, even though the Soulbond was definitely male. Anyway, I guess I owe people an apology because they took what I said about Sarah personally. I used those non-PC words about her because she isn't gay or trans or anything like that. She and something are fakes. Pure and simple fakes. They do nothing but pretend to be special to con money out of people. If you want to claim them with your gender identity, go ahead. I don't want to claim them with mine. So I used a few words that cause people to get their boxes in a bunch. Get over it. You don't have a right not to be offended by things that I say. You have a right to disagree and to not like my words, but I'm not going to change my thoughts on Sarah because you're gay and I said she-man, and oh, now you need a feelings band-aid. If you're that fragile, I'm sorry. And to those who are speaking for the gay community, do yourselves a favor and stop. Speak for yourself and yourself only. Sarah ruined nearly a year of my life. She lied to us, stole from us, inconvenienced us, and then will scream disability at every turn. Even when she was gone, she was never really fucking gone. God willing, we are done with her, but after she left, she filed small claims case after small claims case against Matt and the rest of us. My favorite one was the time she sued him for overpayment of utilities. The judge said, "You're paying $500 a month with utilities to live in a house in Southern California. Dismissed." Sarah started crying in the courtroom. I laughed at her, stupid bitch. Finally, if you think we're making this shit up, I hope Sarah squatters herself in with you next. Good luck getting rid of the bitch because she is a crafty little piece of shit. I take offense at her abusive claim of being disabled. She is not disabled. She is just stupid. And anyone who gives her money or support for this religion is fucking stupid. Thanks to the internet, there's now all of these so-called subcultures where people decide that they are so awesome and special and they all hold hands and sing songs and call the rest of us stupid for not believing them. To all of you Soulbonders out there, you are sharing a soul with something that someone else created. It is a figment of someone else's imagination. If you're going to create an imaginary friend for your lonely ass self, at least make up your own. To people who think they're dragons, grow the fuck up. I don't know how the boyfriend who seemed pretty normal and reasonable could believe he was a dragon. At least he didn't breathe fire when he was bending Sarah over my bathtub. I'm done. Pete will be home tomorrow anyway. He can take over telling the rest of this sick and sad story. Quit messaging me telling me you know Sarah or you are something and I butthurt you or you're a Soulbonder and this is bad press for your subculture. I don't think so, and I don't give a shit. After the soul party, we thought we got rid of the friends and something for good. But then something showed up about 2 months later for another visit. Matt threatened to start charging her rent. He also asked Sarah to leave quietly so they wouldn't have to go to court. She refused. Her soul bond was content in the house. The rest of us went to a park together that Saturday. When we came home, the boyfriend was there and screaming at Sarah and something. Boyfriend caught the two of them having sex. He wasn't supposed to be there for another hour, but was early and walked in on them. Matt told them to take their shit outside because it was all screaming. Sarah was crying and saying she didn't mean to do that her soul bond took over and made her screw something soul bond. Something said that sounded like her soulbond was a rapist, and on and on and on. That went on for an hour, but at least they took it to the carriage house. The boyfriend left after that, and Sarah and Something came inside. They said they had to kill Something's soulbond for raping Sarah's soulbond, but he will be replaced with the bishop's twin. Sarah said the twin was evil. Something said the twin could be nurtured. Imagine that conversation going on for an hour. Tim had some colorful words for that scene, but I'm not sure they are PCs, so I won't put them here. I don't know if they killed the soulbond or not, and if they did, how they did it. A few days later, Something left, but Sarah got a call from her. Something had been arrested upon landing in her country of origin. Sarah asked him to help her out, and he said, "I'm not licensed there, and I wouldn't do shit for you anyway." Something wasn't just sponging off her country of origin, she was a scam artist, like those that call elderly people and promise them lottery winnings. That was her day job. I don't know what kind of scam she was running, but it was pretty bad. Sarah continued to live with us. Up next, Landlord Tenant Court number 1. Story was never finished, all posts were deleted, probably due to fandom drama. So yeah, that's all. Wish you all a good night. Goodbye.